97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
We expect to win every time we step on the field. That's just the mindset and the culture that we have.
Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcasting network, because it's more than just Adam Caplan, Jeff Mosher every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, you got Tales from the Blind Side. Love that podcast with Trey Thomas, Jamal Jackson, Todd Herriman's also Grilling the Birds with Derek Gunn and Trey Thomas. All kinds of great stuff on the Inside the Birds podcasting network and, of course, the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. He joins us each and every Thursday on the Sports Bash. Adam Caplan on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Adam, how you doing today?
Boys, I'm looking forward to Sunday's game. Quarterback, new game plan. Maybe the Eagles will get some juice on offense because they need it. But going to be fun with the battle of the backup quarterbacks, Taysom Hill and Jalen Hurts, two running quarterbacks. I look forward to seeing what happen on Sunday afternoon.
So you mentioned Jalen Hurts. So what can we actually expect from Jalen Hurts this Sunday?
Yeah, so I'm expecting a different game plan because they're two. When you compare them to Carson Wentz, they're completely different in terms of how you approach it. And I say this because this is what his college tape looked like. If you look at what happened in Oklahoma, he was a running quarterback, lots of RPOs to get him comfortable. He was dynamic at times running the football. He looked like a running back at times. And one team told me he was so tough. He got hit a lot last year in his one season that started at Oklahoma. But he's a fun guy to watch, plays with a lot of energy and passion for the job, very tough. And I look forward for them building on what they did with him this game against Green Bay. When he came off the bench, he really should have started the game last week, at the half, coming out of the tunnel there, the third quarter. I don't know why Doug Peterson didn't do that, but when he came in, he did a good job, considering all the circumstances, and made a two really great throws, one to Rager for 38 yards and then the touchdown pass to Greg Ward. So you hope he could build on that. He takes all the starters reps this week for the first time as a professional. And let's see how the coaches come out. I do believe they'll run it. My prediction would be a minimum of 8 to 10 months for him. And they'll just go from there and see what happens.
It's funny that you started to talk about that, Adam, because how can this offensive scheme and the play calling change now that Jalen's in there? I said a couple weeks ago that I don't know if it'll be to that extent, but what Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson a couple years ago to kind of ease him into the league with his, throwing struggles, reportedly. Can it be something like that when you see Miles Sanders and Boston Scott kind of finally come alive now that Jalen Hurts is in that quarterback?
Yeah, actually, I said on our show, Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher and I said, look, when you get a running quarterback in there, they're so key on the quarterbacks, and you just mentioned Lamar Jackson. That's how the other guys got it going. In fact, you saw in this game, the Ravens game, where they blew out the Cowboys, Gus Edwards got it going. Dalvin did. Mark Ingram got it going because they're so focused on stopping the running quarterback. So that's the hope. That's the hope. They could get the running game going. And Doug Peterson actually did come out and say that, and I was kind of surprised he would say that. I don't know if he was serious because he doesn't like running the ball, but did say they probably need to run the ball more to get him comfortable. But, again, let's just see what happens. When he has a chance to throw the football, let's see if they protect him. That's another thing. And, when you have a running quarterback, a guy that can move well, you can help out an offensive line. We've seen that with a lot of running quarterbacks last couple of years. And I really look forward to seeing their game plan on Sunday.
Now, speaking of that game plan, Adam, of course, the Saints have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I know a lot of Eagle fans, they want to focus on Malcolm Jenkins because he's making his return. But that guy, Demario Davis, has been really good for the Saints. And you got Jordan on that D-line. What kind of challenge is this going to be for Doug Peterson, Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles' offense versus the Saints' D? Yeah,
their defense is so disciplined. I would say right now they're the NFL's best defense. They're the hardest to run against, they and Tampa Bay. And they got a good, consistent pass rush. You mentioned Demario Davis. I remember covering him at the Senior Bowl many years ago. He's bounced around for a bunch of teams, but character guy, really smart, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, gets the job done. They tackle really well. They got off to a very inconsistent start their defense, but right now no one's playing better defense than they are. Wait to see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's one of the corners, who's the nickel corner, but now he's had to play a little bit more Patrick Robinson, who started last week for Janoris Jenkins, he's got an injury. He may not play this week, but Jenkins is starting to practice with his injury. I really look forward to seeing what their approach will be, because obviously they practice against Taysom Hill is very similar to Jalen Hurts. So I do, them getting that practice time in with Taysom Hill, so they kind of know what it's like to practice against a running quarterback. It's a tactical thing with Dennis Allen there, the Saints D coordinator, on how he approaches stopping the Eagles offense, because again, it's going to be different. Carson Wentz obviously is a guy who's run the ball a little bit more than we expected this season. That's for various reasons, offensive line problems, not seeing the field great, and running when maybe he should have hung in there. But nevertheless, it's going to be a very interesting tactical decision here from Dennis Allen, the Saints defensive coordinator, versus Eagles coaches.
It's funny that you mentioned Carson Wentz, because there is another side of this story. What is the future for Carson now that he has officially been benched? Well,
look, right now, we're not expecting him to play again this season unless Hurts gets hurt. Okay, that's the first thing. They're pretty much locked into his contract for at least one more season based on contract structure. The question is now, who will be coaching him next year? Who's going to be the quarterback's coach? Who's going to be the head coach? Who's going to manage him from a day-to-day basis? Who's going to rebuild this player? He's a guy that needs to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, from his footwork, starting up to his head. He just needs to get himself righted. And, it really would help him if we had a full off season in 2021, starting in the May OTAs and June camps, May camps, obviously having a training camp, having a preseason. He's probably a guy that needs a preseason. So just having a real off season will really help him, because with all these coaching changes they had, all these new offensive coaches, and all the new faces on offense, I just don't think he was ever together with these guys on the same page, and it clearly showed in the field.
Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds Podcasting Network. Also follow Adam on Twitter at Adam Caplan, at Caplan NFL, I should say. Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds Podcast. Now, on the Wednesday pod, you guys did a full breakdown of the Packers game, but one of the things we want to ask you here, looking back at the Packers game, was what stood out to you and Jeff about when you talked to your sources about what Jalen Hurts did versus Green Bay?
Yeah, here's what I liked. I liked on his touchdown pass. He stepped up in the pocket. He found space to throw the football, and he threw a strike. He was very decisive. This is something that our friend Greg Cosell told us in college at Oklahoma. He was not always decisive. In fact, he would bail too much. I did see in training camp during the 5 days that I was there, too many plays where you saw one read and then ran. Now, this is typical of a young quarterback. But when you give him more time, and as he gets more snaps this season, you'll probably see him go through more progressions. And that's what you're hoping for, to build off of this last game. I know he didn't play. He played in less than a half, but he did some good things. Boy, that throw to Rager, he was so decisive. 2.5 steps, back foot, and dropped it in there. He threw off his back foot the correct way. He pushed off. That was nice. I just want to see him build off that. So I was happy. I mean, it is hard to do that. It is hard to come in cold off the bench when you really don't get any work with the ones. The only work that he gets with the ones all season is when they put him in for the package. He only gets like 2 or 3 plays with the first team offense in each practice, because it's the same play that they've ran in the game. So now that he gets all the ones, you're expecting him to be better and more comfortable. And it's just fascinating. You wish he was going against a lesser defense, but it is what it is. And, folks, if you look at his schedule, though, in weeks 15 and 16, at the Cardinals, who've lost 4 out of 5, their defense has regressed. And then in week 16 against the NFL's worst defense in the Cowboys. So if he could just build on this defense, against this defense here, things will get a little bit easier for him in week 15 and 16.
Now, we know that you mentioned earlier Doug Peters talking about running the ball. I don't know how many people were not shocked to see how much we saw of Jordan Howard out there. They literally just brought him to the team, and he's back out there. It's almost like the Eagles were trying to rekindle last year on Thursday Football against the Packers with Howard.
It's funny because I said during our preview show, I said I felt pretty certain he'd play, and that 11-yard run. Remember, he came in on the second series. He looked really good, but as per usual, if they get behind by 7 or more points, they're just not going to run the football. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But I thought he looked good. We knew that it would be expensive, Corey Clement and Boston Scott in the run game, but that's just the way it is with Doug Peterson. if this game could be close, you certainly would like to see him come in. But, folks, we have to understand that the Saints are the best run defense, so it's going to be really hard for the Eagles to run in this game.
Adam, Jalen Reagor finally made a big play on the punt return, but he also made that big catch. Everyone wants to write off Reagor because of Justin Jefferson's success in Minnesota. Can Jalen Reagor build off of last week and, hopefully start to look more like a first-round pick?
Tell you what, I was very impressed with that catch on the sideline down the left side. I was so impressed. If you saw the way that he caught the football, he fought for it. He used his hands to create leverage to go get the football twice in that route against Kevin King, who's way taller than him. Kevin King is one of the tallest corners in the National Football League. He's 6'3". Reagor just over 6'10", and he uses really enormous physical strength. If you looked at Reagor, he's really well built, very strong arms, strong shoulders, probably one of the strongest receivers for this draft. This is the first time we've seen him really winning a route with his strength, and that's something he could build on. There's no question. Now this is going to be a really difficult matchup. The Saints are super deep at corner. They're really good at safety. They've got a good pass rush. We know about the Eagles' offensive line, so it's just going to be a matchup where the Eagles are going to probably have trouble scoring.
Adam, one of the things also with that game was it was another rough performance for Jason Peters and the Eagles' offensive line. Doug Peterson insinuated this week that maybe we won't see Jason Peters out there again. And I was listening to the guys on the Tales from the Blindside pod, and they were pretty explicit on the Inside the Birds podcasting network saying that, listen, this offensive line with Peters out there is just not functional.
Yeah, look, he's not moving very well, and now he did work yesterday, did not work today. So we'll see what he does tomorrow. They just don't have enough guys to go out there. Now, they could use Matt Pryor. They could use Nate Herbig. I mean, that's just something they could take a look at. The whole idea was to move him inside where they thought he would have a little bit better chance to compete, so he doesn't have to have more space. When you play left tackle, you have to move more. They want to keep in a confined area at right guard. It wasn't good last week. He certainly didn't look great. It's going to be hard for them. They don't have many choices right here. Matt Pryor, though, is healthy, and he's obviously a big guy. Though basically what I was told is Pryor's way better at right tackle than he is at guard. Though he did well at guard last year. It's surprising, but he had a tough training camp. He definitely did not do well in training camp, and that's why, as you've seen, he's been kind of on the outs here. He's not a guy they want starting right now unless absolutely necessary.
Adam, last week, Dallas Goedert really started to continue his production at the tight end position. Zach Ertz did return, though, and he was mixed in. The Eagles' offense works better with two tight ends, but do you see Goedert now being the number one and Ertz, falling back to number two?
Yeah, I would say so in terms of pass targets. You saw Goedert, and I said that going into the game, there was no reason for Ertz to take over again. They should continue to go to Goedert, and they did that. Now, because we don't have a lot of tape or a lot of numbers here for Jalen Hurts, we just don't know who he'll be throwing it to. But if you just go by the way of the usage with Goedert this season, look, Goedert week 1 against Washington had his best game as a professional statistically, and Hurts obviously played in that game and had a touchdown. So there's really no reason to go away from that. I'd be very surprised if Goedert does not lead them again at tight end.
Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Caplan NFL. The next pod with him and Jeff Mosher drops tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get the alert for the podcast when it drops each and every morning. Adam, let's flip it over to the defense. The defensive line got some pressure early on. We got to see Javon Hargrave actually get out there and do a couple things. But it seemed like Aaron Rodgers figured them out and started to beat them as the game went on.
Yeah, and that's typically what happens with Aaron Rodgers. The first quarter, remember, the Eagles held them to 0 points, but second quarter they dominated. And that's the thing here. Now, when you go against Aaron Rodgers, he's got the quickest release in the National Football League. So he's going to gate the pass rush for the most part. You have to win within the first second. If you don't, it's over. And that's what you saw as the game went along. And then what happened is the fourth quarter, for whatever reason, the Packers took the gas pedal off, and they didn't have a lot of energy in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles kind of made it interesting very late. But look, the fact of the matter is that the Packers are clearly better than the Eagles. I give the Eagles defense credit in terms of they did what they could. Now, they got to get Darius Slay going. Boy, the last 2 games he's been awful. He's got to be better. When you play a lot of man coverage, you got to win. And there was no excuse last week. I mean, I get it against DK Metcalf. He's bigger, stronger, and faster. Devontae Adams does not run very fast. He should have been able to have a better game, and he didn't. I know he's banged up. He had the calf injury. Now he has a knee injury. But he is expected to play, I'm told. So he's got to do a better job. Now, Michael Thomas, he's not a fast guy. The guy is a great route runner, gets open, but you got to keep him in front of you. That's obviously the key here. But they got the Saints have Emmanuel Sanders. They have Traquan Smith, who had a big game against the Eagles in 2018, who's having sort of a breakout season. And the other thing is Eagles particularly don't cover the tight ends well. You saw what happened last week with Robert Tonyan, and they play old man Jared Cook. Jared Cook in his mid-30s could still get it done. He still runs well, and they've got to do a better job against tight ends.
Adam, now that you're talking about Darius Slay, I want to kind of piggyback off of that because he has struggled. But is this a game where the the Eagles defense can kind of get back right against the Saints? I mean, Taysom Hill has been electric running the football, but there's still questions with him throwing the football. Can this be a game where the defensive line can get pressure and possibly Darius Slay and the cornerbacks can get some confidence and get some picks? Yeah,
I mean, certainly, yeah, because it's funny because the first two games you look at him and you go, well, particularly the first game, but now that he's starting once again, this last game we really threw the ball well. I would want to make him a passer, but be careful. Just be careful because he's been this is his third year in the offense, and he has a better feel for it. In 17, when he got there, he got there too late in the year for him to really understand it. But he's doing a good job now, and he's been really accurate lately. So, yeah, if I had my druthers, I'd rather him throw the football than. But the thing that he's not doing, and this has been surprising, because the Eagles don't cover the running backs out of the backfield very well. And my concern would be getting Alvin Kamara in the pass game, but they have not done that with Taysom Hill. That has really surprised me. That is probably the biggest surprise with Taysom Hill at quarterback. He's not been checking down the ball at all to the running backs.
Adam, one more before we let you go. We always appreciate your time here at Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcasting network. Make sure you subscribe so you get the very next pod with Mosher and Caplan tomorrow morning with the latest insights on the Eagles heading into Sunday's game versus the Saints. The Eagles injury report came out earlier, and Fletcher Cox, he's back at practice, so at least the Eagles get some good news heading into Sunday's game.
Yeah, the big one obviously would be Peters, and then with T.J. Edwards with his hamstring injury. He was on into reserve earlier this season with a hamstring injury, so they have to watch that. And look, again, if the Saints start coming out trying to get Alvin Kamara involved in the pass game, the Eagles are in real trouble. That would concern me. He's arguably right now the NFL's best running back. He's phenomenal, and that certainly would concern me if T.J. Edwards can't play. Now, T.J. Edwards is more of a two-down linebacker, but he's the guy that will play a decent amount of snaps if he's able to. Alex Singleton's a guy that has played pretty well, but he gave up a couple plays last week. Particularly, he was involved in that long touchdown run by Aaron Jones, so they've got to be careful here. But the Saints can win in a variety of ways. And again, this is a very interesting tactical game from coordinator from both teams. I'm really looking forward to this game on Sunday.
Well, I know you and Mosher will have all the details tomorrow morning with the Inside the Birds latest episode of the podcast dropping. And then on Sunday, you guys got to stream with you, Mosher, Trey Thomas, and Greg Cosell. That'd be at 1 o'clock on Sunday, right?
Yeah, actually, we changed it. I guess we could announce it. For the final 4 weeks, starting this week, we've changed it. We're going to be on from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that way we don't go against, and we're not going against those 1 o'clock games because people tend to want to watch those games live. So this way you'll be able to get our show in and then watch those 1 o'clock games before the Eagles play at 4:25.
Okay, so 10 a.m. Sunday morning. You don't want to miss it. I know Mosher was telling me yesterday how excited he is about the telestrator too. So
it's really cool. We got some great stuff, and through Jeff and I know a guy named Dan Hatman. He used to actually work for the Eagles. Who's got good relationships with technology companies. So check that out. And we got Cosell on Jalen Hurts, Trey on the offensive line. We're gonna have a great show on Sunday.
And follow him on Twitter at Caplan NFL, and make sure you subscribe to the Inside the Birds podcasting network. Adam, always appreciate the time.
Guys, thank you.
Josh Hennick, Deshaun Hendricks filling in for Mike Gill and Hunter Brody here. They'll be back on the show tomorrow on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Football at 4 being brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now and then match your first deposit up to $250. Go to PlaySugarHouse.com and win real money with their sportsbook along with casino games from the comfort of your home. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.